All right, Shalom. I'm going to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Yahweh is the true, holy, and powerful name of the Heavenly Father. Bahasham, meaning in the name. Yahweh Shai is the true, holy, and powerful name of His only begotten Son, who is the Savior of the nation of Israel, starting off with the elect within the nation of Israel. And Israel consists of you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, as well as you Israelite foreigners scattered abroad that may look like the nations where you've been scattered to, but are Israelites. And I also want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of our millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect pushing out this word in all sincerity and truth. All right, this is the brother you call from the GMS branch out in Des Moines, Iowa, coming back at you with another lesson inspired by the Holy Spirit, Howard Kakwadash. And this is going to be a part two, all right, to the lesson I just did. And I'm not quite sure what I was going to entitle it, but it's still going into three things, that all Israelites should be thinking about. The first thing, the Spirit had me going to was the wrath of Yahweh Shai, pursuant to that Sirach, the 18th chapter, started off with that. I think I started off with that, where it talks about think upon the wrath that shall be in the end, or when the Lord shall turn away his face, so that should be at the forefront of our minds. The second part, is the preparation, and I touched up on it, went into putting away idols, all right, not only of other religions and other gods that you might have been serving, of Jesus Christ or whatever Catholicism or whatever you were into, but also recognizing that if we're yielding our members, like it says in the book of Romans, all right, the 6th chapter, over to all these other things, and it's taking away our time and our energy, and our mind isn't on Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, that could be taken as an idol from the Lord, and we aren't supposed to have any gods, before the Lord. So what the Lord is, requiring of us, all right, in this preparation is to put him at the forefront of our mind. All right. That's a part of the preparation, is making sure that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is at the forefront of our mind. So I want to go deeper into that. And then Lord's will, finish off talking about the last point being the kingdom. All right. Because these are three essential things that should be at the forefront of the mind of the Israelites that are, looking to receive salvation. So I'm going to pick up right where I left off in the book of Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter. All right. So this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10. And while I'll reread verse 12, it says, "And now, Israel, what doth the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua thy power require of thee? But to fear the Lord thy power, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord Yahweh thy power with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes which I command thee this day for thy good. Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens is the Lord's, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua thy power, the earth also with all that therein is. Only the Lord Yahweh had delight in thy fathers to love them. He chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart and be no more stiff-necked." Right, and we're going to speak about this, the circumcision of the heart. All right, now the physical circumcision will be where, the male, all right, the foreskin on the 8th day will be cut off, which is the excess skin, will be cut off from him, right? And this is ties into, the spiritual aspect, because really the circumcision is of the heart, as it says in the book of Romans. All right, let's grab this in the book of Romans. Romans, circumcision. You know, and this is a physical practice that we're supposed to be keeping, we ought to keep, but we're in captivity, so if you can, get it done, hey, if it's in your spirit to do it, get it done, but if not, that's not gonna, exempt you from receiving salvation, but this is the book of Romans chapter 2 and verse uh yeah, I'll get to the point. Verse 28. It says, "For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Jew, which is one inwardly. And circumcision is that of the heart and the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of the Most High." Right. So a part of us preparing, all right, to hopefully be accepted by Yahweh Shai, we have to circumcise our hearts. Right now, that's cutting off the excess, you know, that's unneeded and unnecessary, or that the Lord is not pleased with. All right. In the way in our thoughts and our reasoning and everything like that. So we're having a whole transformation of the heart, you know, as it's going to go into in the book of Romans, the 12th chapter. But let's go ahead and grab this in the book of Jeremiah. It mentions the circumcision as well here. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter, let's see. All right, Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 14. It says, no, not that one, Salakia. Circumcise your hearts. This is Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse. Am I tripping? All right, I'm tripping. Salaki. Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 3. It says, "For thus saith the Lord Yahweh to the men of Judah and Jerusalem, break up your fallow ground and sow not among thorns." Right now, fallow ground will be hard ground. All right. Now, if you were a farmer and you needed to, plant some vegetation there or whatever, plant some seeds there, you would have to break up that ground. All right. And it would have to get softened up. All right. And the ground is likened unto our hearts. See, we're a hard headed people. All right. And this word is supposed to soften it up and make it malleable so that it can be molded and so that that seed of the word can be planted into it. All right. And that it can grow and flourish. But if it's hard, all right, then that seed can't grow. It can't be nourished, right? So we soften our hearts through this word, man. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 65. All right, and that's if you receive it, because you got people who are still hard-hearted. All right, they don't receive the word. They can't, and because the Lord set it up that way. But we have to battle our hard-heartedness, okay, because we're in this flesh, all right? And it'll revert back to that hard-headedness or your old way of thinking and reasoning and so on and so forth if you allow it. If you're not taking the necessary steps of consistently listening to the word, all right, that has an effect on your spirit. That has an effect on your heart, your mind, right? If you're not in the word, that's why it's very important to be baptized. All right. Baptized is what being immersed. All right. Baptized in this word. Okay. Being immersed in this word, right? Because it allows us to stay in a malleable form to where we can receive the word, receive instruction, grow in the spirit, right? But when we're not doing these things, your heart can get back hardened. So that's the importance of, constantly being in this word, man. But this is the book of Psalms, chapter 65, in verse 10, it says, "Thou waterest the ridges thereof abundantly. Thou settlest the furrows thereof. Thou makest it soft with showers. Thou blessest the springs thereof." It says, "Thou makest it soft with showers." All right. And those showers in allegory are using it for what? This word. All right. The washing of water by the word, right? So going back to this in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 4, just pull it back here. All right, Jeremiah chapter 4 in verse, let's see, in 3, "For thus saith the Lord Yahweh to the men of Judah and Jerusalem, break up your fallow ground and sow not among thorns." As a matter of fact, that reminds me of another one in Hosea. And I had that one written down anyways. Hosea chapter 10. I almost forgot about it. Hosea 10 and 12. It says, "Sow to yourselves in righteousness, reap in mercy, break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua till he come and rain righteousness upon you." And this is the time that we're in. And seeking the Lord, seeking what's pleasing unto him. All right, walking in the path of righteousness, right? This is the time to be seeking the Lord while he may be found, calling upon him while he is near, because we're coming into a time where he's going to turn away his face. All right, where he's not going to be easily accessible, where you can't get access to this knowledge on how to think, how to reason, how to move in a way that's acceptable to the Lord so that you can obtain favor. All right. See, this word isn't going to be easily accessible, but this word is going to be necessary. All right, this word is necessary, needed for salvation, because these are the men that show us the way to salvation on how to get saved. All right, this word, all right, taking heed unto it, it leads to deliverance, it leads to salvation. All right, so it's important for us to take heed into these things now, man. This is what's changing our heart, our mind, right? So that we can be accepted. So it says back in Jeremiah chapter 4 in verse 4 now, circumcise yourselves to the Lord and take away the foreskins of your heart. So this is an inner man working, all right? We're working on the inner man. Okay? And take away the foreskins of your heart, ye men of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem, lest my fury come forth like fire and burn that none can quench it because of the evil of your doing. So if we're not doing this, then the Lord's fury that we spoke about, mainly in that first lesson, can be poured out upon us, man. So this isn't a option. All right. No, we have to conform to what's written, as it is written in the book of Romans, and this leads to salvation. Romans chapter 12, in verse 2, it says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So our mind is being renewed, okay? That ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High, is being renewed by this knowledge. So we're putting away our old way of thinking, and now we're thinking in a way that's acceptable to the Lord, and is leading to better decision making that's pleasing to the Lord. All right, to where we can hopefully be accepted by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Let's read this in another translation. It says in the NLT, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let the Most High transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. All right. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. So this is essential. This is what Yahweh Shah was talking about in the book of St. John, the 3rd chapter, when he told Nicodemus, you have to be born again. You have to be born of water and of the Spirit. That's what? By these words. All right. By this standard, which is completely contrary to this world. All right. See, this world, they have a way. All right. And our way has to be completely different, and it's conformed to what's written, was pleasing to the Lord. Right. And this is the process that we're going through. And this is the process that our forefathers spoke about throughout the ages, man. All right. Of being transformed. All right. By the renewing of our mind. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, the 14th chapter. All right. 2nd Ezra chapter 14. All right. 2nd Ezra chapter 14 in verse 34. It says, therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, right? And the heart, goes back to the Hebrew word lab, which means mind. Once again, so when we're speaking about the heart, we're speaking about our mind, all right? It says, therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, ye shall be kept alive, and after death ye shall obtain mercy. And this is what we want, all right? And this is the process that the elect will be going through, their minds being changed and reformed, all right, to the image of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, all right, so that they could be accepted, man. So this is what we got to go through. This is a part of the preparation that's being done before the Lord pours out his wrath, man. All right, let's grab one more in the book of Wisdom of Solomon. One of my favorite chapters, man. Wisdom of Solomon. All right. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 9 and verse, I'm going to jump up and then jump back down. Solomon chapter 9 and verse, I'm going to start at verse 9. And wisdom was with thee, which knoweth thy works, and was present when thou madest the world, and knew what was acceptable in thy sight, and right in thy commandments. O send her, being wisdom, out of thy holy heavens, and from the throne of thy glory, that being present she may labor with me, that I may know what is pleasing unto thee. Right? So we want to know what's pleasing to the Lord, and the prophets are out there showing, teaching, all right, telling the people what's pleasing to the Lord so that they can walk in that, all right, so that the wrath of the Lord can overpass us, right? For she knoweth and understandeth all things, and she shall lead me soberly in my doings and preserve me in my power. So shall my works be acceptable, and then shall I judge thy people righteously and be worthy to sit in my Father's seat. All right, so before our works were not acceptable, all right, because it wasn't in wisdom, it wasn't in the faith and the fear of the Lord, it wasn't in wisdom in the way that's pleasing unto him. But now through this wisdom, now we're learning what's acceptable. Now we know what the Lord likes. Now we know how he wants us to think, how he wants us to reason. All right. Putting away evil and wickedness and so on and so forth, man. We're learning these things through the Spirit. It says, jumping down to verse 17, and thy counsel who hath known, except thou give wisdom and send thy Holy Spirit from above. For so the ways of them which lived on the earth were reformed. And men were taught the things that are pleasing unto thee, and were saved through wisdom. All right. So this is the process that the elect will be going through, the preparation that they're going through. All right, is being conformed to this wisdom so that they could be delivered. All right. So we got to go through this process, man. Going back to Isaiah the 55th chapter, it says, let the wicked forsake his way and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Then the Lord will have mercy upon him, and then the Lord would abundantly pardon, man. All right. So we got to go through this process. All right. This is back in the book of Jeremiah, just in case we didn't finish it. All right. Jeremiah. Yeah, I have it up here. All right. Back in Jeremiah chapter 4, in verse 4 again, circumcise yourselves to the Lord Yahweh, and take away the foreskins of your heart, ye men of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem, lest my fury come forth like a fire and burn that none can quench it because of the evil of your doings. Right. So we did finish that. So we might as well jump down to verse 14. O Jerusalem, wash thine heart from wickedness. Right. And this is what we're doing through the word. Washing our heart, our mind from wickedness, that thou mayest be saved. How long shall thy vain thoughts lodge within thee? Right. So this is the process that we're going through, man. We're learning what's right and what's wrong. All right. And then we're battling those thoughts of wickedness. All right. Casting them away and putting our mind under subjection to the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. This is the preparation. Okay. This is how, we'll be accepted by Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, and only the elect will be doing these things through the Spirit. All right. Conforming to the word, conforming to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, man. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 19, in verse 7. It says, let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife had made herself ready. And the wife is speaking about the elect, the church of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, man. All right, that's the wife, and it says she had made herself ready. And just like it says concerning a woman, it talks about her adorning. All right. Because when a wife is getting ready, she's putting on her proper garment, all right, her wedding dress, she's making sure she's in shape. She's making sure there's nothing on her dresses. Her maidens are there to check her to make sure that, she ain't got no blemishes and everything like that. She's physically preparing herself. All right. And then in reality, not only physically, but mentally as well. All right. She's being mentally prepared to be, groomed. All right. She's being groomed for this man. All right. To please him. To conform to that man, right? In her mind and everything like that. So this is the process that us as the Lord's woman are going through as well. But this is the book of 1 Peter chapter 3. And I'm gonna just start at verse 3. It says, whose adorning, let it not be the outward adorning of the plaiting of the hair and wearing of gold, or a putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart. So, this is about the inner man being worked on. That's why Yahweh Shai talked about cleaning the inside of the cup. All right. It's all about working on our inner man. Okay. So that we can be acceptable by the Lord. The scripture says how the Lord looks not on the outward appearance. All right. He doesn't judge as man judges, but he judges the hearts. All right. So this is what the Lord is looking at, man. How do we think? How do we reason? It says in the book of Wisdom of Solomon that the 4th chapter that Enoch, his soul pleased the Lord. Therefore, the Lord hasted to take him away from among the wicked. So our mentality should be like, look, I want to please the Lord. How do I do that? All right. What do I need to do? How do I need to think? How do I need to reason? And that's the point of these lessons that are instructing, brothers and sisters in a proper way on what to do. All right. Walking in faith, it says how faith and meekness is the Lord's delight. All right. Putting away the different, habits that we had in this world, or how we used to be that, we recognize, we look at the scriptures like, damn, the Lord don't like that. All right. Women are being instructed in a proper order, what the Lord likes and dislikes, in regards to the whole nation, man. And those that take heed, all right, they'll receive that deliverance, man. They'll receive salvation and be covered from that wrath to come. But those that aren't taking heed, they just going to be swept away in the judgment, man. All right. And it's going to be horrible, man. All right. Horrifying. But it says horrible is the end of the unrighteous generation, man. So it's either we take heed to discipline, all right, Deal with the pain of discipline or the pain of regret and the wrath of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. That's it. There's only two options, man. Either the wrath of the Lord or get with the program, man. Plain and simple, right? It says, but let it be the hidden man of the heart and that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of the Most High of a great price, right? So just pulling out the point that our adorning or the wife making herself ready is a part of the inner man being worked on. This is the preparation that we're going through, man. All right, this is the book of Second Peter. Second Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. It says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? So seeing that the Lord is going to bring in the nuclear destruction, all right, he's going to melt people. He's going to make them go through torments. There's going to be cannibalism. Women is going to get ravished in the streets. All right. There's going to be all types of atrocities happening. The love of many waxing cold, or just a whole bunch of just madness happening out here, man. All right. Seeing that the Lord is going to do this, how should we be conducting ourselves? Now, this word conversation, it says holy conversation. Now, that word holy means to be separate, right? Now, this word conversation in the blue letter says manner of life, conduct, behavior, deportment, right? So our manner of life has to be separate and it has to be conformed to what's written. Our conduct has to be separate from the rest of these people. It has to conform to what's written. Our behavior, separate and conform to what's written, man. All these different things, man. And this is what we're fighting to constantly do because the Lord constantly reveals different things to us that we need to work on. All right, because the scripture says, measure the temple. All right. Well, the temple is the believers. All right. And we're being measured according to what? The standard of the scriptures. So we're trying to measure up to what's written. We come across different things. I'm like, oh, that's written. Well, man, I need to apply that. Let me, put that on. You know what I'm saying? Damn, I'm coming up short in this area. So the Spirit, the Lord develops us. All right. Certain things that he may used to wink at 2-3 years ago. Now he's not winking at it anymore. Why? Because there's growth and development that's being demanded of us. All right. This is all of us being prepared and being ready. We're elevating. We're getting closer to the image of Yahweh Shah, like it says in the book of Romans 8. Let's grab that. Romans chapter 8 in verse this is Romans chapter 8 in verse I'm going to start at verse 30 is the point. I'm sorry, 29 is the point. I'll start at verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Most High, to them who are the called according to his purpose. So if we truly love the Lord and we show forth our love through our obedience, like Yahweh Shai said, if you love me, keep my commandments, right? So we apply these instructions to our lives. That shows forth that we love the Lord, right? So if we're doing that, we have to believe that everything is working out for our good. All right. Everything that we go through, whether it's the hell, the trials and tribulations, is for our good. Why? Because it has a refining influence on us. As it says in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter, it says, through the sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better. And in NLT, it says it has a refining influence on us, right? So we have to believe that all things are working out for our good. It's purging us of wickedness. It's making us more patient, giving us the ability to endure certain things, right? The Lord could be molding certain things in our character, whether we need to show more love, more charity, or we need to be more meek and more humble to be accepted by him. He's purging out the things that he doesn't like through the trials and tribulations so that we can be accepted by him, man. So all things are working out for our good, whether it doesn't seem like it at that time, because chastening of the present seems joyous, but it's grievous, as it is written, nevertheless, it yieldeth the peaceable fruit unto righteousness, man. So these things are necessary if we want to receive salvation, if we don't want to be destroyed and burned, all right, in a lake of fire and melted here, man. All right, it's absolutely necessary. So it says, for whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. So the elect are going to be conformed to the image of his son, showing you speaking about the elect. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, who's going to be conformed to the Son. All right. Them he also called, and whom he called, them he also justified, and whom he justified, them he also glorified. So those individuals that are going through this process of being conformed to the image of Yahweh Shai, those are the ones who he justified, as it is written. Next verse. Is it the next verse? Well, I'll just read through. What shall we say then to these things? If the Most High be for us, who can be against us? He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? And this is going to segue to the kingdom, really. Because the Lord is going to give us everything, man. If we endure to the end, remain faithful unto death, and continue in this process of growth and development towards his image, all right, until his return, he going to give us everything, all right? Everything, okay? And we're going to dive into that, man, going into the kingdom aspect. But it says, who shall lay anything to the charge of the Most High's elect? It is the Most High that justifies, right? So the Lord has justified the elect from all their iniquities and their sins, man. All right? It's not going to be imputed unto them. All right? So this is what we're hoping for, man. To get that complete pardon. All right? That complete pardon. But, this is what the elect will go through, man. Being conformed to the image of his son. So to be conformed to Yahweh Shai's image, there's a lot that's got to be purged out of our spirits. All right? Through the hell, the trials and tribulations, man. And we got to be in the spirit. We got to learn of Yahweh Shai. All right? So, let's see, where were we at, man? Before that, we hit that manner of life, conduct, conform to the image. All right, so let's grab this in the book of Revelation, 21st chapter. All right, Revelation 21. And this should be on our mind, man, the reward, the kingdom. All right, let's start at the top. Revelation 21 and 1. It says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. All right, and going back to that Peter, 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse, not 2 Peter. Holy conversation. I just had it up, but we can read a little bit further on that. This is 2 Peter chapter 3, and I left off at verse 11. So it says, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, so the Lord has promised us this, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness, right? So this is what we're looking forward to, man. All right. There's a new heaven and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness, man. The Lord to refresh this earth, all right, remove all wickedness, remove all pollution, all right, and we can actually enjoy the earth being an Idan, a paradise, a pleasure, right, in its fullness. This is what we're looking forward to. It says, wherefore, beloved, seeing that ye look for such things, so seeing that this is our hope, right, for this kingdom, be diligent that ye may be found of him in peace, without spot and blameless, right? So we want to be diligent in these different things. We want to be diligent in our preparation to be accepted by Yahweh Shai. So we want to be diligent in our, working on our character, self-reflecting, our growing in the spirit, acknowledging things that we're coming up short in, that, where we're not meeting the mark, so to speak. All right, praying to the Lord, fasting, asking the Lord for help in all these different things, man. To purge us of our wickedness, different things that's not pleasing unto him. And we're continuing this process until he returns, man. And once again, all these things are done through faith and the fear of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Because if you got faith, if you fear the Lord, you're going to be doing these things. All right? You're going to be working on yourself. You're going to be acknowledging these different things. You're going to be, have a desire to please the Lord and, be accepted by him, man, and not be rejected. All right? You're gonna have a certain fear of being rejected, man, and therefore you're doing these different things to please the Lord, man. You ain't just walking around just thinking that you just got it, or you just going, you automatically you just think you got a ticket to the kingdom. Nah, all right. The true servants of the Lord are gonna move in the fear of the Lord, man. All right, and hope in His mercy. All right. So now going back to this in the book of Revelation, 21 and 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. Right. So letting it know that what this new heaven and new earth, all right, just like you got a new moon that comes up each month, it's the same moon, all right, but it's refreshed, so to speak. All right. It's the same moon that's in the air. It ain't like, all right, that moon gets shoved out the way and it's always a different moon that comes. Well, with the earth, what's happening, man? It's going to be refreshed. All right. Once again, the pollution is going to be taken out of the way. All right. The fashions of this world is going to pass away. You know, everything is going to change, man, and it's going to be according to righteousness, and this is what we're looking forward to, man. It says, I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from the Most High out of heaven, talking about the elect coming off of those chariots with those new bodies, perfected, all right, without blemish, immortal, right? This is what he's describing. Prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of the Most High is with men, right? Because the Lord is dealing with the men chiefly. All right. The Lord is dealing with us, getting us in order, making sure that we're locked in and focused. And the women that get with the program, they're going to be joined to those men. All right. And they're going to bring forth the seed of those men, all right, who are highly esteemed, all right, in the eyes of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right. And they're going to enjoy the fruits of being a part of that man's household and the work that he's put in, man, towards salvation. All right. And they're going to be greatly appreciative, man. Okay. Having tons of children in righteousness, never working again, having servants and so on and so forth, man, being able to travel freely and to really enjoy the earth in its fullness, man, to fulfill all of our purposes, man. But it says, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and the Most High himself shall be with them and be their power. And the Most High shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor cry, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And this is our hope. And this is what the Lord is going to do, man. Take away all suffering, man. Anything that causes tears is going to be taken away. Any situations, whether it's, financial issues or, whatever the case may be, man. Family members suffering, brothers suffering, right? Catching hell, in these bodies. Salaki, give me 1 second. Salaki, man. But yeah, man. So this is what we're looking forward to, man. All right. Hey, the Lord's going to restore the relationship between the Israelite man and the Israelite woman in proper order, man. It ain't finna be no bickering back and forth, jealousy or complaints. It says there'll be no more complaining in our streets to any degree. All right. There won't be a complaint at all in the kingdom. Everybody's going to be happy. Everybody's going to be joyful. You know what I'm saying? From the top to the bottom, man. Everybody's going to be well off. Ain't going to be I ain't got enough money to do this or to do that or and X, Y, and Z, man, it's gonna be nothing but pure love. You ain't gonna be looking for, man, what is this nigga thinking, man? He plotting on me, man. No, it says that all of our people's gonna be righteous, man. There ain't gonna be no alphabet people, there ain't gonna be no whores. All right. All righteousness, man. All righteousness, and this is what we're looking forward to, man. But it says, and the Most High shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, right, for these words are true and faithful. Right, so this is going to happen, man. And he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his power, and he shall be my son. Right. So we're getting ready, Lord's will, to inherit all things. All right. Getting control over the resources, man. Distributing them properly, not misusing them like Esau's doing it, man. He's taking damn oysters out of the sea that's used to cleanse the sea to eat, Yep. So like I was mentioning, man, we finna get, rulership over the resources, I was explaining, how he's got oysters, taking them out of the sea to eat them and everything like that. That's just the fowl in the sea, man, the oceans. We should be able to freely drink out of the water, rivers, you know what I'm saying? All these different things, man. Okay. Like the Lord, man, everything is going to be done according to the law, statutes, and commandments, which is perfect. We're going to have a land Sabbath. to actually give the earth a break, you know, so that it can produce greater fruit. You know, it ain't gonna be polluted. All this seedless this and GMO that and all this stuff is giving people cancer and destroying people. Like, nah, man, everything is gonna be towards life. All right, everything is gonna be towards life, man. From the clothes that we wear. All right, it's gonna be aiding life. All right, everything that we eat is gonna aid life. All right. Everything that we do, decisions that we make, is going to only forward life, as opposed to this devil. Everything that he does is death. The music, it brings death. Wicked indoctrinations, man. All right. The food that we eat, it brings death. All right. Everything that this devil does, it brings death to some capacity, man. Even to the medicines that he gives. All right. It's death. All right. You know, it'll get rid of certain symptoms, but then it gives you side effects, and then you hooked on, all types of stuff, man. So everything is going to be reversed and created in righteousness, man. And he's going to use his men to govern the earth and set up righteous order throughout the earth, man. All right, put the heathen under subjection, put them in order. All right, they got to pay for the things that they made us suffer through. They're going to build up our kingdom, right? This is what's ahead. You know, Jake should be thinking about these things, man. Jake ain't thinking about the kingdom like that, man. They talk about it, but they want to stay here. And all they're thinking about is here. But this is right around the corner, man. And this is what we're seeking for. And hey, he that hath this hope purified himself, man. To be immortal, no more sin, no more death, right? To never sin again. This is what we're looking forward to, man. Never having making a wicked decision or a bad decision, or the battle between the flesh and the spirit. Getting out of these chains of darkness. And being immortal and that one with our power, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. This is what's ahead. Okay, so let's grab this in the book of Psalms 37. I'm gonna just rip through, a couple of these precepts through the Spirit. This is Psalms 37, and we can start at the top on this one, though. It says, "Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed." That's right, man. All right. So we ain't got to worry about these evildoers and wicked. Let them have it, man. They can have this wicked ass society. They can have their defiled women. All right. They can have their little monopoly play money. You know what I'm saying? They can go and travel here and there. Let them have all that, man. Because when we get it in righteousness from Yahweh Shem Yahushua, it's going to be on a whole nother level. All right. All right. Look at how the wicked prosper. You think the Lord is going to allow the wicked to prosper more than those that he loves, the righteous, when they get their reward? Anything that the wicked has, the Lord hates them, but yet he allows them to have those certain things according to, his plan. And, but what we are going to get is going to far exceed anything that anybody's ever experienced on earth, man. All right. We're going to be on a whole nother level. All right. On a whole nother level. I'm talking about our houses are going to be made out of precious stones, castles, plenty of substance that you're going to be able to pass down to your children's children. You're going to be filthy rich, so to speak, with real substance, gold, cattle, land that you can actually pass down to your seed and everything like that, man, to enjoy with your family, right? Like, it's going to be beautiful, man. You're going to have a chariot, man, a so-called UFO, man. That's going to be your ride. Scriptures talk about in the book of Isaiah, the 4th chapter, how there's going to be a chariot over all of our dwelling places, man. All right. You ain't going to need no passport, ask permission. Can I go over here? Or going to have to, go to work. I need a week off. Then you got to budget your trip with your money. Nah, man, you want to go do something, go do it. All right. You ain't got to check in with nobody. You're going to have the Israelite man is going to have true sovereignty, man, to its highest form. All right. We're going to truly be kings and gods on earth. Kings and priests and gods, like, a whole nother level, man. This is what's to come for us, man. So let the wicked have this, man. We got way greater prepared for us. It says, trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Right? The Lord is going to give us our desires anyway, man. All right, so we can put off the desires of this world, knowing that the Lord is going to give us what we want and more and far surpass and far exceed even our own desires, what we think we want. All right. The Lord knows what we like more than we know what we like. And it's already prepared for us, as it says in the book of Second Ezra, man. All right. It says the kingdom is already prepared for thee. Watch. All right. So it's already laid out for us, man. It even says, Yahweh said, I go and prepare a place for you. In my father's house are many mansions. The scriptures even, bro, the Lord is talking about like it's dwelling places, other planets that we're going to go to. All right. So this is far out, man. So yeah, have all this shit, man. That's why it says, fret not thyself because of evildoers, man. Don't even trip. Don't even be envious. Don't even envy these people, because what we're gonna get, going back to this in the book of Romans chapter 8, and verse 18. I'm gonna start at verse 16. For the spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. And if children, then heirs, heirs of the Most High, and joint heirs with Yahweh Shai, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us, man. And we got to believe that whatever we suffering through, man, it ain't even nothing compared to what the Lord is going to grant us, man. But we have to have that mingled with faith. All right. So it profits us. All right. It only profits us if it's mingled with faith. Any and all these words. All right. But Psalms 37 and 4 again, delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. So we have to show commitment to the Lord. All right, we have to delight in pleasing and serving him, man. Fully committed to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, devoted to the Lord. And he's going to give us these things freely. Going back to that Romans, the 8th chapter, it says, how shall he not freely give us all things? He gave up his son for us. Will he not freely give us all things? Everything else? If Yahweh gave Yahweh Shai up for us, his most prized possession, how much more will he give us everything else like nothing? You know what I'm saying? So this is what awaits us, man. This is the book of Psalm 16 and 11. It says, thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. Right? And as it is written in the book of Revelation, all right, because Yahweh Shai is at the right hand, right? But he said that we'll sit with him in his throne next to his Father with him. This is the book of Revelation, the 3rd chapter. So we're going to enjoy those pleasures forevermore is the point. Revelation chapter 3 and 21, to him that overcometh, right? So we have to overcome. Battling this flesh, being in this walk, we have to overcome these trials and tribulations through the Spirit of power, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. And ultimately, we got the victory through our Lord, Yahweh Shai. It's already written. All right. It says, this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. So our faith in Yahweh Shai has granted us the victory, but we got to walk that out and continue in the faith. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne. All right. So we're going to sit, all right, as a joint heir with Yahweh Shai. I don't want to watch us out. We're a part of that number, man. All right. And enjoy those pleasures forevermore, man. All right. This is the book of Second Ezra. Second Ezra chapter 7. And I'm going to get straight to the point. In verse 6. It says, there's also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field and is full of all good things. So all things good is in the kingdom awaiting us, man. All right. And this has to be on our mind, man. This was on Yahweh Shai's mind. The kingdom, what was to come, the reward for his suffering. That's why it says in the book of Hebrews, the 12th chapter, it says, for the glory that was set before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame. Meaning that he thought little or nothing of it he thought little or nothing of the suffering that he had to go through compared to the reward that was going to come with it. All right. So this is why it's important for us to keep these things at the forefront of our mind as well. All good things is awaiting us, man. All right. No more sorrow, no more pain. Paradise is open. The tree of life is planted. Rest is allowed. Plenteousness is made ready. Plenty of everything, man. You're going to have plenty of everything. All right. You know, this is what awaits us, man. This is this is the book of Isaiah. Let's see. Yep, yep. This is the book of Isaiah. No, I hit this Hebrews as well. All right, Hebrews 11. And I'm going to start at verse 13. Because this is what our forefathers were looking towards, man. Hebrews 11 and 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, meaning they didn't get it in their lifetime. They knew of these promises, the kingdom of heaven, the reward to come, us getting our land back, being immortal, right? They knew of these things in their lifetime, but they weren't going to receive it in that lifetime, and they understood that. So these all died in faith, believing, not having received the promise, but having promises, but having seen them afar off. They believed it and were persuaded of them and embraced them and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Right. So they looked at themselves like, look, we just passing through because that's our real reward. That's our real home. Our life is here with Yahweh Shah when he returns with his reward. All right. It says, for they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from which they came out, they might have had opportunities to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is, in heavenly. Okay. And this is what our forefathers were seeking for. All right. That kingdom. Wherefore the Most High is not ashamed to be called their power, for he hath prepared for them a city. And we read about in that city dwelleth all good things. So the Lord has already prepared these things for us, man. But we have to continue and walk this thing out. All right. Just like a child, when he's an heir to a king, he defers nothing from a servant. You know, he's just a servant. He's learning and everything like that. But as soon as he reaches the age to where it's time for him to get his inheritance, he's enjoying all of the splendor, all right? All of the glory. So we're just heirs, learning and going through our process of, being molded and so on and so forth. Then we're going to get authority and be able to enjoy the kingdom and know how to deal with the resources and know how to reign righteously and actually enjoy the kingdom in its fullness, man. Being righteous, right? This is what awaits us. All right. This is Isaiah 64. In verse 4, for since the beginning of the world, men have not heard, nor perceived by the ear, neither hath the eye seen, O Yahweh, beside thee, what he hath prepared for him that waiteth for him. Right. So it hasn't even entered into our heart how far out of the glory and the blessings that the Heavenly Father has prepared for us, man. It's going to astonish us. We're going to be amazed. We're not even going to be thinking about the suffering that we had to endure, all right, because of how much the Lord is going to bless us. This is the book of Psalms 126 in verse 1. When the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream, all right? And you read this in the Amplified. When the Lord brought back the captives to Zion, Jerusalem, we were like those who dreamed. It seemed so unreal, all right? It's going to be mind blowing, man. It's going to be mind blowing. And we have to keep our hope in that, and pray to the Lord for more of a vision of the kingdom to, keep your mind set on the kingdom, man, because this is what awaits. And this is what we're striving for. And this is what allows us to go through the suffering. Like, yeah, man, take me through whatever I got to go through. Just keep the spirit on me to endure to the end. As long as I get to that destination, whatever I got to go through to get there, doesn't matter by any means necessary. All right. That should be our mentality, man. As long as we get there, everything's going to be all right once we get there. Whatever we had to suffer, whatever we had to lose, it's going to be all right once we get there. So we just got to get there. All right. And we have to continue in the preparation and doing those things that are pleasing unto the Lord so that we can get there. And sure. All right. Giving diligence to make our calling and election sure. Verse 2, then was our mouth filled with laughter and our tongue with singing. Then said they among the heathen, the Lord Yahweh hath done great things for them. The Lord Yahweh hath done great things for us, whereof we are glad. Turn again our captivity, O Yahweh, as the streams in the south. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. Right. So, we battling, we fighting, we catching hell, we suffering, we're sowing in tears, but we're going to reap in great joy. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, being this word. All right. It says, go returning to the Lord with weeping and fasting, in mourning, right? With this word, it says, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. All right. So we're going to reap a great reward for this work that we're putting in and serving Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. A great reward that's going to far surpass any of the sufferings that we've gone through and that we will go through. All right. Let's hit this in the book of St. John, chapter 16, in verse 20. It says, verily, verily, I say unto you that ye shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. And that's what's been happening, man. The world rejoicing. Well, now they through. All right. Now, hey, we at the time where judgment's catching up to them and the rejoicing is ending. All right. The mirth of Tabret ceasing. All right. The mirth of the city is gone. You know, people complaining about prices of this and that and the third and all this uncertainty. So we're pretty much at the end of the world rejoicing as well. All right. But it says, they that shall weep and lament. I'm going to read it from the top. Verily, verily, I say unto you, that ye shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. And ye shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. So the Lord is going to turn all our sorrow into joy, and it's going to be well worth it. All right? Well worth it, to the point to where it's like, man, I could have went through that 10 times for what for the kingdom, for what how the Lord is going to bless us, man. That's why throughout all of our ages, man, our forefathers was like, shit, I'll give up this life, knowing I ain't going to get the kingdom in this life. I'll give up the next life, knowing I ain't going to get it in that life. The next life after that, knowing I ain't going to get it in that life, for when we eventually get it. And we're at the end where it's going to come in this lifetime. Our forefathers, man, Lord's willing, it was us, gave up lifetime after lifetime, being obedient and disciplined and serving the Lord and walking in the fear of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai with a hope and knowing of the reward and the fear of the Lord, man. All right, a combination of the fear of the Lord and knowing that it's a reward for it as well. It says, he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, man. You know, so we have to believe in this reward. This should be on our mind. All right, the kingdom should be on our mind, man. All right, so let's end it off with this in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 2. 2nd Ezra, chapter 2, in verse 13. It says, go and ye shall receive, pray for few days unto you, that they may be shortened. The kingdom is already prepared for you. Watch. All right. So that's a promise, man. All right. The kingdom is prepared, you know. So we got to keep our eyes on the prize, man. It is right here at the door, man. We got to, finish out these last few milliseconds of the suffering we got to go through, the refinement that we got to go through, the Jacob's trouble and, resisting the sea hip and, so on and so forth. Go through these last few seconds and, hey, and watch, Yahweh Shai get his glory on earth, man. We're in some beautiful times, man. But hey, the kingdom is right here at the door. So Lord's what I was edifying, man. I'm going to end it right there and give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Give honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing out this word in all sincerity and the truth. With that, I'm going to say shalom.